massive hit. Oh, they've clipped. Off. How he held on to that, I don't know. This is the biggest crash in RGL history. He's out of control and into the wall. Brace yourselves, this is going to be action-packed. Hi and welcome to the RGL Forza Championships, and this is the V8 Supercars round 5 for 2013. And again, looking at another head-to-head battle with Twistie corners and Fear Bretley here at Circuit de Catalunya. We're looking at the Grand Prix circuit, so rather long, but these drivers are really smashing out times. This was a track used for our time trials, and generally it was sort of looked at as 155 as being extremely fast, but now with a little bit more time, a little bit more practice, these times are being smashed out of the water, getting into the 152s, and most of those are achieved with absolutely no assists on, which is absolutely amazing. So look at this very popular circuit, and obviously very popular amongst all the drivers here, as it was one of the tracks picked as part of this season. And leading up to this, there was a little bit of struggle for some to get some good setups, at least some consistent ones. Meanwhile, again, those at the forefront with Twistie Motorsport, APRT with Twistie corners, and Bretley all managed to get very good setups and very fast times. So we'll have a look at qualifying right now, and you can see just there off the front row, Twistie getting another pole position. But interesting enough, although xCaderz struggled, xCaderz seemed not to with the 153.027. You look at these times, and with the exception of Twistie's extremely fast qualifying time, 153s all the way through to ninth place, pardon me, and then in 10th we start to go to the 154s, and that's only just, so this is extremely close by all. But again, xCaderz starting to hit his straps now and starting to become very competitive, and you can see there 10th spot Highboy 154.104, so not that far off, and then there's a little bit more of a jump before we get into the 156s. So Scavenger there, 155.292 would have put him just behind Pistol Fit, but was not a clean lap, so they got scratched. And he's starting off the back of the grid. 3 lights on. We're about to go racing at Catalunya for the V8 Supercars, and everybody getting away very cleanly. Question is, who gets down to... Oh, look at that, Twistie is just monstered away from Bretley, and I believe xCaderz even might have the jump on him. So Bretley, a bad start in the end. He seemed to get off the line pretty well, but maybe just that second gear might have missed it, but they're still fighting there. xCaderz around the outside now, he's got the inside line against Bretley, and he's managed to make that stick, so here's something different for everybody. We've got somebody else in second place for a little bit. Can xCaderz hold on and maintain a full race against these two drivers? And Jake Mo starting to put the pressure on Bretley as well. He's had a cracker of a start. We'll have to get another replay of that, because I believe he passed recoil on the big sweeper a la Alonso. And they just circle through, so they're all starting to settle down a little bit now, find their spots, single file. And xCaderz is going to either hunt Twistie or be hunted by Bretley. He's got his work cut out for him, but we have seen in the past that he's got speed, and I think maybe he's switched on, he's hit another gear for this series and the season as a whole, and showing it right now in second place. And at the moment, can't quite see from behind there, but that might even be Yeah, that's Jake Moe in 4th, followed by No Recoil. And I can't quite make out that line. I believe that's a HD Motorsport vehicle, but heading around to the final few corners is a great section of track. A couple of tight turns before heading past pit lane. So on board now with Gundam, who is right behind Recoil. And heading out onto the main straight to complete the first lap of the round 5. And we have 8 laps to go. And Gundam, oh, he's dropped a few spots, but I believe he went wide at the start. There's xCaderz with the fastest lap. Yeah, 1:58.359, so that standing lap is as quick as a fair few of the guys in Tier 2 on a proper sprint lap. And that will go down very quickly. Recoil's starting to pull away now from Gundam, and also putting the pressure on Jake Moe. Look at this replay. So we've got an incident by the look of it. So they're all bunching up a bit. This is on lap 1. Oh, he's tried to avoid that contact with Elsimo, and Elsimo just after effects onto the dirt. He's lost a few spots there. Relentless trying to lay him through, but decided he's got to keep going with it before any other cars pass him. And here's Highboy on the tail end of Ninja, and you're watching right behind him. So still very well bunched up here in the mid pack, and some rather large glitching going on there with Ninja. And we've seen what can happen with that in the Abarth round of the DVS. So I've just got the front 4 or 5 cars starting to separate from the rest of the field, and there's your gap back to Ninja, and so another little angry pack there. Stewards watching those 2 corners for any excessive corner cutting. Highboy into the pit lane, followed by your watching. So getting in early with their pit stops is always a bit of a risk, because if you cop some damage, that's race over. Recoil, look at that. Second lap at 1:52.975. And even with that fastest lap, he's got a bit of a gap back to Bretley, but Jake Moe has pitted, so he's probably closed the gap, I should say. Jake Moe would have found it rather tight in there if he was still on the track. So here's Jake Moe's start. Let's have a look at this. So starts off alright. He's got a bit of traction there on Gundam. Starting out of P5, and there's Recoil. 3 wide, and Jake Moe just sort of, there's Recoil. He's managed to get some really good exit speed out of turn 1. And now Jake Moe returns with some better speed, and all the way around the outside. This is almost a replica of Alonso's move in the Grand Prix earlier this year, so that is fantastic. And here he is, still powering through, looking for another outside pass on Bretley, but that just wasn't going to happen, not on this turn. So that was a very gutsy move, and managed to get a spot for that. So back with our, we're actually watching, sorry, not with our front runners. They're circling around, so these guys have pitted, and he's managed to jump Highboy. That's interesting. I don't recall anything happening there, so maybe something's happened in the pit lane. Now we're on board with our leader, Twistie corners, and he's not pulling any further away from xCaderz, so xCaderz really keeping the speed up with these guys. So maybe we've got a few more people that will be challenging the top 2 runners for a few wins. Keep in mind, next round we have a reverse grid race. It was going to be an enduro, mini enduro at Road Atlanta, but decision was made to mix it up a little bit, and we've split the race in half effectively, 9 laps each, and the second one is a reverse grid, so anything could happen there. We've seen that in the past. And look at this leaderboard. Recoil still in 4th position along with Bretley dropping a spot, obviously swapping with xCaderz. Gundam dropped a spot to Recoil in all of that, and Ninja, Gohard and Scavenger all benefiting from a few of the guys that have already pitted early. Now we can see there Elsimo, Pistol Fit and Queensland Run Runner also still to pit, and Jake Moe, you watch, and Relentless Highboy all losing a bunch of spots, but they will all change around once the rest of the field has pitted. And xCaderz just a bit sideways out of that turn, but not losing too much traction. And I can't help but think that this is only going to get tighter and more entertaining as we get close to the end of the race, once these guys do process their pit lane stops. Always a lot of pressure there. It's a very long pit lane, and these guys, all they want to do is get in there and get out quick as they can, hoping that none of the drivers have got a jump on them, hoping that they manage to get a jump on the other drivers at the same time. Twistie just putting in very strong, fast laps, generally averaging around the 153s, very low 153s, touching close to the 152s. The replay here, Highboy all under brakes, he's tapped the back end of Relentless just slightly, but Relentless pretty well controlled not to spin that out and just slid out onto the gravel and rejoined. Highboy doing a very good job there of allowing him to continue without gain of position, otherwise obviously that would have incurred a penalty, so he's redressed his mistake on track, which is fantastic to see. Now Bretley has managed to close the gap on xCaderz, and this is going to put all sorts of pressure on the young gun. Choices to get in the pit lane if he's getting distracted by this, try and find some clear air, or stick with it. Only time will tell. We've already passed the halfway mark now, so these drivers will start to etch in their minds when they should take their pit stop, when the best chance to do it, and obviously looking to apply that perceived pressure where they think that they need to do more than what they are at the moment because they can't see the other guy on track. Once they start looking for undercuts, the in and out laps become absolutely crucial. And these guys, it is pretty amazing though, previous rounds in the V8 Supercars, Bretley and Twistie have just taken off. They would have been normally 5-6 seconds down the road on all the other drivers, whereas this one here, we've got 4 of them all still within contention to win this, and on board now with Highboy still trying to chase down Relentless, who he accidentally tapped at turn 4. Now trying to make some moves and get past him. Oh, Relentless a little bit deep under brakes and lost a bit of ground there. And you can see nobody else behind them. They were in second last and last position when that incident happened. Heading to turns 13 and 14, so Highboy just cutting that corner a little bit does give you straight line speed, and this is allowed him to get right up on the back of Relentless, and this is why the stewards monitor those corners very closely post race and apply any corner cutting penalties just to hopefully discourage drivers from doing that. And out of the pit lane comes Scavenger. He hasn't been able to catch either of these two, but he's not far. Oh, he's gone wide off the track almost. He's managed to keep it, but he's lost a bunch of time there. And this corner here, very difficult for drivers. They want to go faster, but the cars just won't let them. And if they push a little bit too hard, they lose a whole lot of time. Poor exit speed out of that corner, and you get swallowed up for turn 4. So Recoil managing to get closer again to fear Bretley and that. So these guys, look at this, all still, as I mentioned, within contention to win this. They only need one mistake and they're close enough to make some passes and or get the perfect in and out laps when they do decide to pit. And that window is closing. There's no recoil, so he's got the fastest lap already. It's the exact same lap time as what he got for lap 2. So he's the only one managing to get that sort of speed, but I don't think it's been as consistent compared with these other guys. And here's the bunch here that we were looking at earlier, Relentless, Highboy, Scavenger, all in a pretty close battle as well. So we've got a few groups out there, a few battle packs. Scavenger just got a poor exit out of that second last turn, dropped away a little bit, but only about a second and a half splits all three of those guys. As we go through the turn 1, turn 2 chicane, and then the turn 3, the big sweeper. All the cars looking to take that pretty well, but what we see from the outside is very different compared to what they are seeing on the inside of the car in the cockpit. Twisty corners still keeping at bay xCaderz for Screwdriver Racing, and they've got to start looking at this pit stops now. I think generally what Twisty will do is hold out till the very last lap. Well, xCaderz, he's made the move. He's sick of seeing the back end of Twistie's Commodore, so he's gone into pit lane, hoping to get an undercut. And not a bad time to look at the leaderboard with just a lap and a half to go. These front 3 runners now, with xCaderz dropping back due to his pit stop, they'll have to pit on this lap, so all 3 of them will come in, and we'll find out. I believe xCaderz is the only one that will challenge any of those 3 for potential spots. Ninja's a little bit too far back, and Elsimo and Pistol moving up a bit, but again yet to pit. Well, they're pitting right now, so they'll start to drop back through the field. And you're watching there, sitting in 10th, so probably move up a couple of spots. And Highboy, Relentless and Scavenger still fighting it out, as you can see here on your screen. And we've just seen one of the Nerd Motorsport drivers just exit the pit lane now, so they'll drop back into about 13th or 14th. So that's Elsimo there, so that's Pistol behind them. Elsimo is come out in ahead of Relentless after his pit stop. So only the front 3 drivers left to make their way into pit lane. So although the qualifying was very tight, it was very close, one would have expected there to be some pretty big gaps in the drivers when it came to the actual track. Here they come, 1, 2, 3, we've got Twisty corners, Fear Bretley and No Recoil into the pit lane. Now let's check out xCaderz, who's very closely followed by Jake Mo, 98 for the Dude 67 race shop entry. And this is what we're going to be watching for. This is what we want to see. Does xCaderz get his second place back, or will he manage to get ahead of Twisty? Worst case scenario, he loses a bunch of spots. We're about to find out now, but it is going to be extremely close because Bretley is right up the back there of Twisty corners. Not much of a gap between the two. Here they come. Watch the top screen there. There's xCaderz just appearing now, and I think Bretley's actually got him, and he has got him, but xCaderz got a little bit better exit. Oh, he's lost. Oh, off the track. No, after all of that 7-8 laps of potentially getting a podium, now he's dropped back to 4th behind Jake Mo. Jake Mo's moved into 3rd, benefited from that misfortune. So Bretley had obviously done enough in his in lap. He got really close up to Twisty. I think that made the difference. Now Jake Mo's moved into 3rd with just 1 lap to go. xCaderz got to hold off recoil now. And this, provided Twisty keeps it all together and manages to get a win out of this race, this really fortifies his position on top. It will make it very difficult for Bretley to catch Twistie by the end of the season. But again, like we said, reverse grid in the upcoming Road Atlanta round, followed by the Enduro at Laguna Seca, and one wonders what will come of that. We could have some back markers at some point there that could interfere. We just don't know. Anything can happen. Even some of the more cleaner drivers have found themselves involved in incidents that have lost themselves a bunch of spots. But these two have done very well to manage to stay out of it. Bretley right on the back of Twistie. There's contact in the corner, but I don't think he's going to have enough of a run off there to make a pass. And Twistie, congratulations on another win. Very close between those two guys. Bretley got the exit, but Twistie had it covered. So exciting end to the race, and you can see there not much in it between those two. Jake Mo taking out another podium. Bad luck to xCaderz, just making a bit of a meal of it in at turn 3 on exit of pit lane on cold tyres. Oh, sorry, he didn't have cold tyres, just made a meal of it. And looking at the championship standings there, 112 points, so it's not that huge a gap, but it's still pretty big. And Recoil sitting in 3rd at the moment. He'll be pretty happy with that result though. I'd say he was chasing a podium, and that was what he really wanted. Jake Mo moving up above Elsimo in the leaderboard, and xCaderz starting to make some moves now into 9th. He had been sitting around 11th and 12th for a little bit there. And APRT, not as big a gap in this one for the Constructors title, fending off Taztec, and Nerd Motorsport with their drivers consistently appearing also in 3rd. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Road Atlanta, where we'll have 2 races, the normal race at 9 laps and a reverse grid race at 9 laps. Should be entertaining. Thank you, goodbye.